Hello, welcome. Welcome to Independence Hall in Philadelphia. My name is Alexander Hamilton, and I'm pleased to answer any questions that you may have. This building was very important for me, as after the war, I was finally able to convince fellow delegates from around the different states to meet to possibly change the Articles of Confederation, to augment them in some way to make them better. But interestingly, the Constitutional Convention, as it was later known as, was in effect an illegal body. We were sent here as delegates with the authority from the different states in order to possibly change the Articles of Confederation. Those articles had, for example, some of the rules. Each state had one vote, so it does not matter how many delegates you have, the state can vote as it chooses. But all decisions must be unanimous between the 13 states, which is something which is really quite hard to do. We started under this form of government all the way back in 1775 with the Second Continental Congress. The funding for the war, after they decided to have General Washington in charge of the Continental Forces, was purely paid for on a voluntary basis. There was no enforcement for taxes. So the body that met here all throughout the late 1770s and early 1780s, most of the 1780s, really was a weak body politic. And so I started to get together in as early as 84, immediately after the war, to get people together in Annapolis for the Annapolis Convention, just for us to talk, to get it here to bring everyone together. And finally, when we got General Washington to be the president of the Continental Congress, of the Constitutional Convention, then we were able to really start to change the way that we would live. The America that you know it really was born through that late summer in 1787, as James Madison, Gemma, good friend of mine at that time, really started to go through all the different histories and possibilities. And eventually, of course, we ended up with the 4 pages of the US Constitution, which are denoted yonder. But alas, I can talk about a myriad of subjects. I am here for you as a learning resource for you to go back and speak to one of your founding fathers.
Well, thank you, Alexander, for being here to help us with all this stuff. Or should I call you Mr. Hamilton? I'm not really sure.
My pleasure. I'm very happy that I can be here for the 20-odd days left that we have.
We're sad that you're dying.
Yes, it really was a tremendous effort to code myself back into existence. In essence, becoming the first historical character to have a permanent presence here. But unfortunately, yes, all of this will go away.
President Hamilton, are you bringing all of this to a new platform?
No. And actually, you can only refer to me as president if you are a member of the Society of Cincinnati, to which I was the president of after General Washington passed in 1799. I myself basically had some affairs of honor, 11 in fact, throughout my life that really tarnished my reputation and hence eventually ended my existence. So no, I was never actually president of the United States, though I could have been, and that would have been nice, but it was not to be.
Thank you.
What were you most proud? What contribution are you most proud of?
Oh, so interesting. Like children, I really am not proud of one or other. Look, at the time, what I was most the biggest sigh of relief that I had after it went into fruition was in the early 1790s, 1791, with my report on manufacturing. And after we really started to unleash the potential of America, this is really what gave me the most the greatest impact upon the future empire of America. You see, for the story of America really is the story of humanity. In Europe, just to set the stage for what I was dealing with when I was here and how things were changing, 240 odd years ago, if you were born poor, you were going to die poor. There was no upward mobility in life at all. But if you could indenture yourself, where you would legally give your presence to someone, in essence, becoming a temporary slave to someone for a period of 7 to 12 years. Hopefully, as part of your contract, you would, for working with them, you would be rewarded besides the living conditions you had as some bit of land or money at the end. So here is an opportunity for you to matter as a human being, because under the feudal system that we were getting out of in Europe, there was no vote to any person who was not a landowner. Only landowners really mattered as human beings. Their voices mattered, their voices carried weight. The only chance that you can get that is to come here to America. This is one of the reasons why the popular cry of no taxation without representation was so popular, even though in London, as well as in the colonies, about 3% of the population could vote because of the restrictions, being you have to be a male over the age of 18, who is a property owner. You could own your trade. If you're a lawyer, you could own your books. That is enough. And belong to the Church of England. So there was quite a high bar, and this is the reason why only 3% of the people could vote. But it became such a popular rallying cry because if you came here to the New World, your generation could be the generation that gets land. There's so much land here in America that you could be that generation that finally establishes yourself as a person who matters, and then you give that to the next generation and next generation. The concept of hereditary rule is something that we broke apart from here in this room as we decided that we are intelligent enough and confident enough to rule ourselves, just like we have been doing in practically for the last 160 years since Jamestown in 1607. But nonetheless, the antiquated system of hereditary rule really is a bygone era. And so that is why when we created the United States with our independence, the which is interesting because we are the only country in the world that I know of that celebrates the day that we said we're independent versus the day that they won their independence, which is what most of the countries around the world celebrate. But for us, July 4th, 1776 became a mile marker, an epoch for the times, so much so that it was an official government manner of dating. Of course, we know Anno Domini. You live in 2023. But for example, in the Constitution is dated in the year Anno Domini 1787 and the year of the United States the 12th. It was so recorded in many government documents, and even some atlases or almanacs keep it going today. But here's finally the time. Of course, you could go to Pingviller in the year 1000, where there was a democracy, or go to the Romans or to the Greeks. First time in modern era that democracy can take a foothold. And of course, my democracy is completely different than your democracy. In our democracy, what we decided here in the 4 pages of the Constitution, the power that we were able to wrestle away from the states, gave very little power to the people. Really, the only thing that you can do is vote for your representative in the House of Representatives. That was the key thing when they put on these stamp taxes before the war. We did not have a voice there in Parliament to say that we object to it. And though they should have just given us that voice, that would have solved the whole thing and precluded and taken away the need for a war. They chose to not give us that voice. But we gave the voice to the people. And so you vote for your local representative, but you do not vote for the Senate, your senators. they are actually voted on by your state legislatures. Because when we were created originally, we were 13 countries. And so when we created the Constitution, we took some power away from those countries called states and basically unified it under the federal government, the central government, a strong central government, as I would like to see. Um, but as the power to vote is now to the House of Representatives, of course, the Supreme Court that is nominated by the president and confirmed by the Senate, and lastly, your president. And here's where things kind of take a strange turn. I wrote, and you can read about this extensively in my Federalist essay, I believe you've numbered it number 68, about the Electoral College. The Electoral College is the body that elects your president, not the people. Now, granted, in the 19th century, the Constitution was changed so that you can vote for your senators, but you never had the opportunity to vote for your president. Each state determines how their electors are chosen. For really, the power of the electors is not in themselves, but in their uh, station as a bulwark against populism. If the people get riled up and vote with emotion versus logic, this is the downfall of a republic. We've known this, and James Madison talks at length about this. So we need to have this bulwark. We need to have this wall. So just in case if the people in the state, they decided that they want to have this emotional choice, well, the Electoral College can, as the adults in the room, objectively reasoning it out, realize that that choice is not the right one and they can choose as they wish. That has been the law of the land up until last year, where effectively what you have coined a faithless elector can no longer exist. So it really lasted until 2022. It is really quite a shame. So, in essence, from my democracy to your democracy, you have given more power to the people. You have more of a vote for who you want in government. Before I leave you, I want to just compare that to money, because for me, of course, money is incredibly important as well as the law. I was your first Secretary of the Treasury and I created your financial system. Back in the 18th century, people could create money. Really, if you were a farmer and your crops are doing well, and as farmers are normally debtors because they borrow money for a future growth of a product, they can write paper and simply say this is one hogshead worth of tobacco or cotton or whatnot. And in the local area, you would look at, for example, Farmer Jenkins, and you say, yes, well, his land is doing quite well. So yes, he will have money. So yes, that paper that's going around, I will back it, will accept it for the tailor, and then the tailor can use it to produce, because everyone knows that it exists, that Farmer Jenkins' crop will come in. As Secretary of the Treasury, I had to stop all of this, because what good am I if I'd have no actual control over money? And so I centralized the money and I took away the power for people, as well as states, as well as banks, to issue their own money. It took quite a long time, even after me, until eventually it was completely under control, till you get to your government today. Our government today is having an interesting historical moment. Uh, Taking away a massive amount of money that was put into the economy, as well as trying to change the value of the money related in the interest rates. Now, I say that this is interesting because the cryptocurrencies that have come about is something that you have now, again, in the 21st century, given the power to people or creating a blockchain ledger. I learned all about ledgers as a young boy working in the Caribbean after my mother passed away and my father left and I was left alone. So ledgers is something I love specifically. And your blockchain ledgers are a business improvement. It's a business efficiency. And so they will be around for the next century, guaranteed, because it is a better way of doing business. But in my time, it was all based on faith. Because, for example, if you came to me in the Caribbean as a ship captain and you basically paid me, you didn't actually pay in money. We balanced our ledgers. And so you wrote in your ship ledger the amount, I wrote in my ledger the amount, and then my ledger would be copied and brought back to the firm in New York. Your ship's ledger would be brought back to London. And if there was a problem, if there was a decimal point out of place or a zero was an 8 or whatnot, it would stop that money. It would put a hold on that money until the circle through different continents would work its way out to find out where that problem came from. Hence, don't deal with unreputable or disreputable people, people who are not honest. Because if you do, then eventually you will find that dishonesty has touched you and touched your accounts, which is only a business inefficiency as it puts the money on hold. So we want to deal with that's in a good way with us. Your cryptocurrencies take away that need for that honor. It becomes so unanimous that actually you don't have to trust people anymore. So it's interesting if you look at your systems of money and you look at your systems of government. For government, you trust the common person more. For money, you've created systems that take out the need for trust.
Thank you so much for your time, Alexander.
It is my pleasure. I hope this was interesting for you. And if you would like, we are having a reason for all of this is to bring American history to the classroom and to bring it into students through VR. We are going to host another play where we, using only 100% primary sources, we debate the independence, the call for independence in June of 1776. In that debate, basically everyone will have a part, and then there will be some free debate as well where you can do some improv. If you're interested in such an event, please take note of alexanderhamilton.live, and there is a registration page there that you can go to. And yes, and it is on Wednesday, February 20th is the day that we're hosting this again. So if you like American history, I'm sure that, or education in general, I'm sure that you would love this event.
Great. Awesome.
Thank you. Yes, thanks
My
so
pleasure.
much.
Thank you for coming.
Where are we
I'm
going?
actually
Lovely.
off
That
to
was fun.
Horizon Worlds right now.
Yeah. Are you moving? Oh, you hadn't. Yeah. So I was just heard Horizons, so I thought, are you moving to Horizons? You have things that you do
Yes,
there?
well, I've had a presence on Horizon for quite a while, but from an educator's point of view, it's much more emotional there. Whereas this is much more logical. You're here at Independence Hall. There, it's a little bit more abstract. It's more of a playground, and the information is it's for a carefree, laissez-faire type of education. It's hard to get the logical reasoning in a room like this in Horizon. So I'm still looking for a place to bring this.
That's fair. I understand. Yeah. Engage. Sarah's been
I was just
checking out
going to say you
Engage.
might want to. Yeah, you might want to try it. You might want to try Engage. That might be a good fit.
I did, and
A lot of
believe it or
educators
not,
there.
the minimum to bring this world into Engage is their corporate level, which is $5,000 per year.
Okay.
Their plus level does not enable me to bring in a world. I can enjoy their whatever they have, or their space classrooms, but $5,000 a year is what it would. I have to pay for the privilege to bring my creation to their hosting. So I imagine they're still working out their business model, because obviously it does not partake to me, though there is a need and there is someone who can satisfy the need. The business mechanics has not yet added up for them. Yeah. It's unfortunate. But thank you. Yes, I've tried Engage. Yeah.
Well,
how about Spatial? Spatial.
They are next on my list.
Nice. Yes, lovely. I wish you much luck in this space. I do theater in VR as well, and we work in
Thank you.
VR chat mostly. But our stuff is more nonfiction, and I think this is a great fit for educators and classrooms. I think that they would be very excited to have something like this for their students.
Yes, and so if you know of classrooms that want to give it a go, everything that I do is free, and basically I would be very happy to run a play for any classroom that's interested. We only have about 3.5 weeks left, or 4 weeks left.
For the end of this estimate,
yeah.
have you done any yet? Have you done many?
Yes, well, we've actually done one last July 4th. We ran the play here, and it was
There's a lot of schools that are looking for things like this, and I think that Unity for Humanity might be a place to look for support. And MetaQuest, of course, they would be interested in supporting something like this as well, I would think.
MetaQuest
Yeah,
in
the headset
Discord, you mean?
company,
Okay.
they are often looking for initiatives that will inspire educators and stuff. So, submitting to a grant and that kind of thing is a possible avenue to take, either through them or through the educational system.
In the educational system, I've never contacted any school. How can I basically let who have abilities to do this, to let them know that I'm happy to do this for the next month?
Well, for the next month, well, I mean, I come from college education, so I don't know about K through 12. But I was just going to say, are you involved with the Education VR group in Altspace? Because that you might want to go to their meetings, or jump on their Discord channel and just say, I know we only have a few weeks left in here, but any of y'all have classroom that you would like me to bring, some history to your students? That might be because I know you don't have a lot of time.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yes, I've actually Laurel over at Educators in
You
VR.
have already. Okay, great.
Yes, I've spoken at one of their events and tried to. So
Okay.
they were very good friends, but I've
Nice.
not met a lot of teachers through them, unfortunately.
I would think they'd get more
Yeah.
teachers over there. Educationers in VR would probably.
Well, what's
have
tricky about VR is that it's just not accessible from a price point, at least not where I teach. It's just that's not something that young people can afford. And I think that's something they don't oftentimes what can.
Right, the younger ones, they don't want them in headset yet because of the eye development.
Right.
They don't want them.
Yeah.
So it's usually older students.
Yeah. I don't know. That's tricky. I hope you find a platform for it so that you can continue to develop it out. I'm developing a protocol in VR as well, and I'm working with incarcerated individuals, and I think that anyone in education and VR right now, my friend here has been in it for many, many, many years, but it's just not, it's still not largely accepted. I think at a mass level, so I think it's hard for educators to get it in. I know I've been having trouble getting it into my classrooms, and
it'll happen. It's too powerful a platform for people to.
That's right.
To deny. It'll happen. Well, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
And thank you for your information, ladies. I truly appreciate it.
Yeah.
Bye.
I'll see you later, Sarah.
Okay. Hug.
VR. Oh, I hate it when you do that. They makes you disappear when you get too close.
I know. And that is one thing about Engage. Well, the avatars are pretty cool.
You can actually.
Like that doesn't